Hello guys and welcome back. In this video I'm gonna show you top 10 horror games that you don't wanna miss it. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and the like button down below. I would really appreciate it. Let's get into this. Enjoy watching. Number 10, Remothered Broken Porcelain is a 2020 Italian survival horror video game developed by Stormind Games and published by Moodos Games. The game was released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and Nintendo Switch and Microsoft Windows. It is a follow-up to the 2018 horror game Remothered Tormented Fathers, serving as both a prequel and sequel. It is a story follows Jennifer, a rebellious orphan who works at the Ashman, whose staff has gone mad with a murderous rage. Rosemary is still investigating the disappearance of Silty Felton. Written and directed by the Italian video game artist and director Chris Darrell, the game was announced on April 11th. 2019 on the stage of Italian Video Game Awards in Rome by Darrell, who was receiving the award for Best Italian Game for the first installment and Moodos Games. Number 9, Made of Sker. It is a first-person survival horror video game developed by Wallace Interactive and was released for Microsoft Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, although the game was planned for release in 2019. But the game was pushed back and was officially released on July 28th in 2020. The game is set in 1898 in the Sker Hotel on an imaginary island called Sker Island. The protagonist, Thomas Evans, is invited by his lover, Elizabeth Williams, to uncover the mysteries of the hotel after she noticed her family's strange behavior. While exploring the hotel, Thomas learns cult followers called the Quiet Ones control the place. He finds the notes and game phone records scattered around the hotel that reveal the story of Elizabeth's family. Number 8, The Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope, also known simply as Little Hope, is an interactive drama survival horror video game developed by Supermassive Games and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. It is the second of 8 planned installment in the Dark Pictures Anthology series following 2019's Man of Medan. The game was released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on 30th October 2020. Successor House of Ashes is planned for release in 2021. The game is played from the third-person perspective in which the player assumes control of all 5 characters who are trapped in the ghost town of Little Hope. Throughout the game, the player needs to choose a different dialogue options which will influence the course of narrative and the relationship between the protagonist. The game can be played multiplayer times, as there are multiplayer endings and multiplayer scenarios based on the decision that the player makes. Depending on the choice of the players, all characters may or may not die by the end of the story. Actions sequences mainly features quick time events, most of which, if missed, can lead a dire consequences for each character. Similar to Man of Medan, the game features 2 multiplayer modes. Shared story allows 2 players to play or cooperate online, and move night allows to up 5 players to select their own characters and promotes them to pass the control at each turn. Little Hope story covers the multiplayer timelines, with the narrative jumping back and forth between the present and the past. The game features more supernatural elements when compared to it is a producer and a team to choose a witchcraft as the game main theme, as they wanted to explore its root cause. Pete Samuels, the game's director, added that the team was intrigued by the greed, paranoia and fear of God, which motivate the people to communicate heinous acts during the period. The team took inspiration from both the Silent Hill series and The Crucible, which is a play about the Salem witch trials that took place in the Massachusetts Bay Colony during 1692. The game was also inspired by films including The Witch and The Blair Witch Project, It Follows and The Omen, and Season of Witch. Was hired to voice and provide motion capture for Andrew, the game's lead character. Number 7. Emily Wants to Play. It is a survival horror video game created by indie developer Sean. The game was released for Microsoft Windows and OS X on December 10th, 2015, and it was then released for iOS and Android on January 31st, 2016, PlayStation 4 on August 9th, 2016, and Xbox One on September 9th, 2016. Emily Wants to Play was adapted to play in a virtual reality by using HTC Vive or Oculus Rift on August 25th, 2016. A sequel titled Emily Wants to Play 2 was released in December 2017. The player takes the role of a pizza delivery man that has been trapped in a house by a young girl named Emily and her 3 dolls. Each level of the game is represented by different hour of the night from 11 p.m. until 6 a.m. During these levels, a various competition of the dolls and Emily appear. The player must learn how to interact with Emily and her dolls in order to survive the night. Number 6. LittleNightmares 2 is a puzzle platformer horror adventure game developed by Tracer Studios and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. It is the sequel 2017 LittleNightmares and features a new player character, a little boy named Muna, with the protagonist from the previous game 6 appearing as the computer-controlled character. The story follows Muna, who must work together with 6 to survive the horrors of Bell City and discover its dark secrets. The game was released for Microsoft Windows Stand and Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on 11th February 2021, with versions for PlayStation 4 and Xbox Series X and S to be released at later date in the same year. Number 5. Amnesia Birth is a 2020 survival horror video game developed and published by Fractional Games. It was released for Microsoft Windows and PlayStation 4 on October 20th, 2020. It is the third installment in the franchise and serves as a sequel to the Amnesia The Dark Descent 2018. And for the gameplay, it is just like The Dark Descent. The game is played from the third-person perspective. The player assumes control of Tessie Trinian, who must wander through a desert caves and ancient tombs in order to find the whereabouts of her companions. The game is dimly lit, and the players must use a light source such as Tessie's own fuel lamp to see clearly and find a way to progress. The players can also scavenge matches, which can be used to light up unwanted torches and candles. The players also need to solve various puzzles to progress in the game and read notes left by non-playable characters to know more about the story. Upcoming third-person shooter science fiction psychological horror video game developed by Housemarque and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, set to be released for PlayStation 5 on March 19th, 2021. And for the gameplay, Returnal is the third-person shooter featuring roguelike elements set in a futuristic science fiction setting. The player controls Celine, a space pilot equipped with the suit and armed with the high-tech weapons, who stranded on an alien planet and stuck in a time loop. After every death, the pilot is resurrected following a pattern of traversing across foreign environments and combating extraterrestrial entities with a growing vision and ever-changing world. Number 3. The Suicide of Rachel Foster is a narrative adventure that takes place at a family hotel where a strong woman, after years of being away, finds herself trapped with the ghost from her past and a cell phone as the only way to unveil a terrible truth. It's 1993. You play as Nicole, a grown woman, now returning to the Timberline, an old mountain hotel that belonged to her parents, Clara and Leonard. They ran the hotel and lived there with the teenage Nicole while Leonard was torturing a local girl, Rachel Foster, and by all accounts it was a pretty successful setup until 10 years before the events of the game. Nicole and her mother left suddenly and never returned after it was discovered that Leonard was having an affair with the 16-year-old Rachel. Shortly thereafter, Rachel went missing and was found a few days later at the bottom of a cliff with a note indicating she had taken her own life. It seems she probably died on the same day that Clara and Nicole lived. So far, so titular, and obviously there turns out to have been something fishy about Rachel's death. Survivor horror game developed and published by Kinetic Games. The game became available in early access through Steam for Microsoft Windows in September 2020, along with the virtual reality support, and the player takes control of one member from a group of up to 4 members in the roles of urban exploring ghost hunters who are contracted to deal with ghosts inhabiting different abandoned facilities such as homes, schools, prisons, and hospitals. The game features 12 different of ghosts, each of which behave differently. The ghost type are as follows: Spirit, Wraith, Phantom, Demon, Oni, Yura, Shade, Mari, Jinn. Number 1. Silent Hill is a horror media franchise centered on a series of survival horror video games created by Kachiro Toyama, developed and published by Konami, and published by its subsidiary Konami Digital Entertainment. The first 4 video games in the series, Silent Hill 1, Silent Hill 2, and Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 4, The Room, were developed by internal group called Team Silent and developed staff within a former Konami subsidiary, Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo. The later 6 games, Origins, Homecoming, Shattered Memories, Downpour, Book of Memories, and PT Silent Hills Playable Taser, were developed by other mostly Western developers. The Silent Hill franchise has expanded to include various print pieces to future films and spin-off video games. As of 2013, the game series has sold over 8 million copies worldwide. Silent Hill is set in the series in a fictional American town. The series heavily influenced by literally genre of psychological horror, with it is a play characters being mostly everymen. Alright, and this is the end of this video. Thank you all for watching and thank you for your support, and I will see you next time. Bye.